We talk often in this channel about alternative platforms and privacy, and we talk a little bit about big tech and things like that as well. And so when an interesting event shows up, which can ripple the universe of technology, it is very interesting to talk about. And today we want to talk about the arrest of Pavel Durov from Telegram. Thanks for checking out this video. And today we are going to look at the case. We're going to look at what we know right now, some of the implications, why this could have happened, and a series of other factors. And maybe this might be a warning and a lesson for other people in the field, but then there's just so many other questions and interesting things. So I pulled out what I think are some of the best articles from a variety of different sources so we can try and get a holistic picture of what's going on, why, and what implications this could have. If you like this type of content, let me know by subscribing to the channel. If you have not already done so, leave us a comment and a like down below. And with that, let's go ahead and get into the basic summaries. First and foremost, we will mention about the arrest. I and Switch to Linux do not have a Telegram channel at all. It's not because I think it's so horrible you never should. It's just that I don't tie my phone number to things. And so I have not, there was actually a very, very, very brief time I tested it around, but I do not have any Telegram account either personally or attached to the Switch to Linux or any of my other brands. So if anybody is saying they have one and there's a channel, it is fraudulent. I will say that out front. And if you do find such a thing, please let me know. That being said, it's just a system. Mostly it's just tied to a cell phone. It's tied to a phone number. Yes, there are desktop applications you can use if you set it all up, but it's also more like a texting type, or at least that started more like a texting type group. And I am not addicted or really like my phone as it is. And so I am not inclined to sit around looking at messages on my phone all day. That's the primary reason why I have not used Telegram. Now, if you do want a community that is ours, you can have a look over at Matrix. We have a Switch to Linux Matrix community, which you can find, I believe it is in the public listing directory now. And you can also find it in the footer of our website at switchedtolinux.com. Now, Telegram itself, it started mostly as a texting communication channel similar to Signal, and then it branched out into having community groups and things like that. And so it's kind of become a mishmash, kind of like a hybrid between like a Discord and a Signal, effectively. And the issue we have found with it is that it doesn't have a lot of interesting encryption protocols. And as we will see by the end of this video, that pretty much is what has shot them in the foot. But let's go ahead and chat about what is going on. First and foremost, he was arrested, I think it was late Friday, if I remember. And the news started buzz over the weekends when most people are not really watching the news. And then after everyone caught up on this, well, as we'll see, the it kind of Barbara Streisand the app, and it went to the top of these markets. Very interesting. But let's go ahead and have a look at some of the different opinions and thoughts going on. So from The Guardian, of course, UK based, the people who actually lock you into jail for reposting a meme. So arresting Telegram's Pavel Durov could be a smart move. Tech bosses care more about themselves than you. This is not listed necessarily as an opinion piece, but I think it probably is a little bit more of one. And so he gets into this, and then he kind of talks a little bit about Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk, of course. The difference, as we know, is that Mark Zuckerberg does play nicely with the government. They do hand over a lot of data, and just breaking this week, more solid evidence that the Biden administration forced Facebook to take down stuff related to the Goofies. And we can assume that such thing happened in other places as well, leading to a giant amount of what we believe as censorship on some of the big tech platforms. But we know that Mark Zuckerberg plays nice, Elon Musk a little bit less, and Telegram not much at all. But then we have things we'll get into a little bit later, but Signal, who says, can't help you here. Okay. And that really is the difference here. So the thing is that this started looking at free speech issues, but it may actually not be as related to free speech as we'll see. But let's go ahead and have a look at some of these articles. So he may not be Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg, but he is the CEO of a tech platform with 950 million monthly users. And this is the first big name in tech to find himself potentially the wrong side of European Union's increasingly strict laws and regulations in the digital sphere. Of course, it would be a lot harder to arrest an Elon Musk or a Mark Zuckerberg. They've got way more power and money, even though this guy is technically a billionaire. And we will see who is coming to his defense soon. But he is a free speech advocate. He had been living in Dubai since his refusal to give up data to the Kremlin on his Facebook-like platform. I think it's more Discord / Signal than Facebook, but okay, whatever. I can admit I'm not a user either. I could be wrong. It could have merged into something like Facebook. God help us. The fact that the Russian government has called for his release, with the former president Dmitry Medvedev telling media, "For all our common enemies now, he is Russian." So the Russians are coming to his defense because he is a dual citizen between Russia and France, but he lives in Dubai, mostly. But he does have citizenship in both of those states. So he's called a man of the world who lives wonderfully without a motherland. Durov has persistently refused requests by police and governments to hand over data on his users. In an interview with right-wing U.S. commentator Tucker Carlson, Durov proclaimed that Telegram's users like its independence, privacy, and freedom, but the French authorities accuse him of enabling distribution of CSAM and providing vital organizational tool for organized crime. Of note, I believe he did have a long interview with Tucker Carlson a few weeks ago. I did not watch that interview. Contrary to some people's beliefs, I am not actually a Tucker Carlson fan. But you can go check out that interview if you are interested. Turning the other cheek to the government request made by Durov's platform popular for those who wanted to avoid the scrutiny of other apps and digital services, regularly acceded to such requests. The fact that Telegram provides encrypted messages helps. It's not coincidental that the riots in the UK early this summer were organized through Telegram groups, with footage of violence disseminated through the app and finding its way to other platforms. Anti-racism campaign group Hope Not Hate has called Telegram the app of choice for racists because, you know, everybody's racist according to this group here. Now, there is a little bit of it. You want to talk about spreading misinformation. Telegram is not encrypted. It only has a partial encryption if you do one-to-one chats with both ends enabling encryption. This works the same way that Silence does, which I use as my default text messaging application, which I can text anybody who doesn't use such an application, and it just uses basic SMS. But if both people on both sides are using the Silence app, then it will go through and it will encrypt both those messages. And so there is a difference there in how this works. This is not a deeply encrypted platform. In fact, that, as we will see, is part of the problem. Unsurprisingly, Telegram has come out in defense by saying that Telegram follows EU laws, including the Digital Services Act. Its moderation is in line with industry standards, Platform said in a statement. It is absurd to claim that the platform or its owner are responsible for the abuse of the platform. So here in the United States, we have Section 230, which says that an organization can either be a curator of the content or a platform for the content. If it is a platform for the content, it is not supposed to engage in censorship outside of the law, but it is not in any way liable for any information on the platform, but anything outside the scope of the law must be removed as quickly as possible. Now, this is where there's some ongoing debate right now in Section 230 in the United States, where we need to clarify who's a platform and who's not, because we're seeing Facebook and YouTube and other big tech groups actually censoring not things that are illegal, but actual free speech type things, political opinions and stuff like that. And this is what raises a lot of the concern. Most other states do not have any form of protection over freedom of speech. And even here in the United States, the platform can say, hey, we are a platform only for right-wingers and we're going to boot you off if you're left-wing. They have the freedom to do that. The free speech in the United States is not a global free speech thing. It means that the government is not supposed to intervene. This is what the challenge is with the Biden administration interfering with Facebook, getting certain posts taken down. And why there was a court case which said, hey, that was okay, and they ruled the wrong way on that court case. I'll go ahead and say that to my belief and my understanding, having not read the whole of the document. However, it is true that the government is not supposed to interfere in any way, shape, or form. And when the presidential administration comes in and says, hey, Zuckerberg, it'd be really, really bad if something happened to your platform. But if you could take this down, we'll guarantee something won't. It's the same exact tactics that mob uses, really. And so the Russians' arrest may signal to Europe. Okay, they're basically talking about in this paragraph how they've been heavy-handed with just issuing fines, not actually arresting people. Although there is some reference in a future article to a couple big ones, Kim.com and who's the other? We'll get to that in the other article. But overall, the argument here is suggesting that these other guys have to, they did this arrest as an example to try and whip these other guys into shape. The problem is that, as we'll see, the content goes far deeper than this. And what the French authorities are alleging is that the arrest had something to do with organized crime and CSAM distribution, but other people have some different opinions. This is from Al Jazeera, which is a Russian organization. Remember that Pavel Durov is a Russian citizen as well. So Telegram CEO faces detention extended following the arrest. So usually, like in the United States, if they pull you in on suspicion of crime, they have 24 hours to either charge you or they have to let you go. And it's similar in many other states, but since they're alleging organized crime is involved, they have 96 hours, which is, was that 3 or 4 days? So they can hold him for a few days. I think they have to charge him today or let him go today, I think, by the end of the day. So we'll see what happens by the end of the day. But Russia comes in and they say that they arrested the Telegram founder in Paris as soon as he steps off of his private jet. An investigating magistrate ordered that Durov, 39, have his detention extended beyond Sunday night. The AFP news agency reported, citing an unnamed source close to the investigation. He can be held for questioning 96 hours, after which he must be charged or released from custody. Local sources says Durov had been traveling on his private jet from Algeria. I cannot pronounce some of these international. Okay, I know what city this is called. I just can't say it. Sorry, I'm a pasty white dude from America. That a French arrest warrant targeted him as part of a preliminary investigation, which I will note, they are not investigating him, they are investigating somebody else. Now, the gist of this argument is that the Russians are demanding to have him released or make sure he's treated and according to Russian law as well. Remember, this is a guy who fled from Russia, and it is not the authoritarian Putin who is arresting him. It is the authoritarian French who are arresting him. Under what some say is free speech issues. So not to be, obviously, a more right-wing source, actually a very right-wing source. Tech billionaire and founder of Telegram messaging app arrested in France. And what they are alleging is that they do mention here that he's arrested for alleged offenses relating to his messaging app, not that he personally committed the offenses, but he allowed 1 billion people around the world to use his app to speak freely without any moderators. That is their take on it. So this is why we need to come back to the center. The people on the right, you need to come a little bit to the left. The people on the left, you need to come a little bit to the right. Let's meet at the middle here and try not to say that this is entirely about censorship. Now, could it possibly be? Maybe UK's really mad that a lot of information was disseminated about the stuff that they're threatening to throw people in jail for, which go after Americans. Maybe we'll throw more tea in your harbor. We'll make a giant pot of tea all around your little island. We won a while ago. Remember that, Britain. But that being said, and I have no interest to travel international. So, but that being said, UK is arresting people for saying things. Telegram was one of the places that some of those things were going around. Although UK did leave the European Union, there is still a little bit of back and forth, and maybe it's possible that some powers that be are going, yeah, you know, they use that stuff in UK. They could use the same stuff over here. It's very possible a censorship motive is in play. I'm not discounting it entirely, but on the surface, that's not what we're hearing. And some of the other stories we're going to look at does not paint a similar picture. France alleges the lack of moderation to curb misinformation, along with the app using end-to-end encryption that only the sender and receiver can access, has led to criminals using Telegram for all sorts of diabolical activities, including CSAM. So the billionaire is accused of being complicit in any crimes planned or committed on his platform. The offense is leveled at Durov by France's OFM, which is an agency that deals with prevention of violence against minors, including fraud, drug trafficking, cyberbullying, organized crime, according to the AFP news agency, which it quoted the officials speaking on condition of anonymity. Elon Musk, of course, comes out and basically says, point of view, it's 2030 in Europe and you're being executed for liking a meme. Okay, I agree. So some people are asking if allowing child predators to use your app is cause for arrest. Why hasn't someone like Mark Zuckerberg been arrested? And I will remind you of this. Facebook is still used for a lot of child exploitation. Twitter used to be, now it probably still is, but prior to Elon Musk taking over, Twitter was a hotbed for child exploitation. So bad, you can look this up. There was actually a case of a minor who had unconsensual parts of their body on Twitter. The family sued Twitter, and Twitter said, this is in accordance with our terms of service and our community guidelines. And it caused this giant court case, which was kind of controversial at the time. 1 month after Elon Musk took over, all of that stuff was off the platform, and now it's just the whack-a-mole to deal with it as it crops up. Twitter is dealing with it just fine, thank you. Or if you want to call it X now, they X'd out the CSAM, I guess. Zuckerberg, yes, they are also moderating and doing a decent job, removing things when it shows up. And, of course, the biggest reason, of course, as Elon Musk has answered that question, Zuckerberg has already caved to censorship pressure. Instagram has a massive child exploitation problem, but no luck. No arrest for the Zuck as he censors free speech and gives governments backdoor access to user data, which is all stuff that we find. This is actually a link about it. And so there is certainly some issues on all of these other platforms. So really, is that what is going on? Tucker Carlson weighs in. Pavel Durov left Russia when the government tried to control his social media company Telegram. In the end, it wasn't Putin who arrested him for allowing the public to exercise free speech. It was a Western country, a Biden administration ally and enthusiastic NATO member that locked him away. Pavel Durov sits in a French jail tonight, a living warning to any platform owner who refuses to censor the truth at the behest of the governments in an intel agency. Darkness is descending fast on the formerly free world. Here's our interview. Of course, he then posts a link to his interview, which he had a few weeks ago. Robert F. Kennedy weighs in. France just arrested Pavel Durov, founder and CEO of the encrypted, uncensored Telegram platform. The need to protect free speech has never been more urgent. And dear Americans, this is Eva Vlavenbrock. I have no idea who this is. Dear Americans, please pay attention to what's going on in Europe right now. Globalist takeover is happening with an increasingly fast-paced over here. France just arrested Pavel Durov, founder and CEO of Telegram. UK is locking up its own citizens for years and years for crimes of standing up against mass migration and writing posts about it online. In the meantime, Europeans keep getting randomly stabbed by immigrants on a daily basis, and since the legacy media does nothing but protect the establishment and hide the truth from us, their next main goal is to ban X, the only platform where we can find and speak the truth. So it's clear what they're doing, and frankly, it's not looking good for us, especially as we don't have a Second Amendment that can protect us against tyranny. So please vote wisely in November for your sake and for ours. Karnovich, I have no idea this is either. The UK threatened to arrest Elon Musk as he allows freedom of speech in X. France arrested Pavel Durov of Telegram for not allowing agencies to spy on users. This was a clear death threat against Elon Musk and all Americans. So a lot of interesting things. I think that a lot of this could be cleared up if we actually got free speech rights to express our opinions across the world. And if you want to allege that this is leading to hate and dissension, maybe you need to provide a little bit of evidence about the how. If I say, hey, go and off such and such a person or such and such a group, I can see that interpreted as hate speech. But saying, hey, we would like to use our government resources for our own citizens and solve our own problems first before becoming overrun with people who are recently let out of the Venezuelan jail so that they can clear things up in their own country, I have a serious problem with that. Okay, that's not hate speech. That's expressing a political opinion. So if we had global free speech, we could solve some of this if free speech is the issue. And that's the question. Is the problem one of free speech? Of course, in response to all this, of course, the Telegram app has gone up. I think it's gone up it's the number 2 position on the U.S. App Store, boosting its global iOS downloads at 4% so far. So everyone's jumping onto this, which may or may not actually be a good thing, in all honesty. And we were going to get to that shortly, but here is what France actually says the issue is. So you have some people, mostly on the right, saying this is about free speech. You have people in the news articles saying this is about CSAM and organized crime and lack of this. Everyone's saying it's encrypted, which it's not. It's not. Telegram is not encrypted, folks. Okay, so here is the actual press release from the prosecutor of the Republic. So this is actually from the people who actually arrested him. Pavel Durov, founder and CEO of instant messaging platform Telegram, was arrested at Le Bourget Airport in the outskirts of Paris on Saturday 24th. Okay, as previously said, it was Friday. It was Saturday, August 2024, then taken into police custody at 8:00 p.m. This measure comes in the context of a judicial investigation opened the 8th of July 2024 following a preliminary inquiry initiated by Section J3 Julico, the fight against cybercrime of the Paris Public Prosecutor's Office. The judicial investigation was opened against person unnamed in charge of complicity, webmastering an online platform in order to enable illegal transaction in an organized group, refusal to communicate the request of competent authorities, information or documents necessary for carrying out operating interceptions, allowing by law, complicity, possessing CSAM, complicity, distributing, offering, or making available CSAM in organized groups, complicity, acquiring, transporting, possessing, offering, and selling narcotic substances, complicity, offering, selling, or making available without legitimate reason, equipment, tools, programs, data designed to be adapted to get access to and damage the operation of automated data processing, complicity, organized fraud, criminal association with a view to committing a crime and an offense punishable by 5 or more years of imprisonment, providing a cryptology tool not solely ensuing authentication or integrity monitoring without prior declaration, and importing a cryptology tool ensuring authentication and integrity monitoring without declaration. Investigation magistrates charged this preliminary judicial investigation have requested co-referral of the Center for the Fight Against Cybercrime and the Anti-Fraud National Office for the pursuit of the investigations. It is within procedural framework in which Pavel Durov was questioned by the investigator. The custody period was extended until 25th of August 24 by an investigative magistrate and can last up to 96 hours, that being the 28th of August, giving the applicable procedure and organized crime offenses as referred above. And so it looks as though I originally thought they were investigating someone else, but it sounds from this, it's unclear. It sounds like they were investigating the discrimination or the crimes, and the unnamed person was complicit in all this, and then they added a name to it? Or are they investigating somebody else as part of a group, and he's just the one that can provide the data? I don't know which one of those two is true. So clarity in language might be interesting. Maybe mention the unnamed person is thus, or there is a separate unnamed party involved. Clarity is asked for on this side. Now, what really is possibly behind the scenes? As I've said many times here, Telegram is not encrypted. Telegram is not encrypted. Now, there is an option where you can turn on encryption between two Telegram users that if both of them turn it on, it is encrypted. There is an option, but it is not on by default, and it cannot be applied to groups. So we cannot possibly be talking about data encryption of groups. So this is a neat article here from The Guardian, came out today, and this really elucidates a lot of what probably is going on. We've entered a world where CEOs of major social networks are arrested and detained. Quite a shift. It didn't come in a way anyone was expecting. From Jennifer Rankins in Brussels. French judicial authorities on Sunday extended the detention of Russian-born founder of Telegram, Pavel Durov, after his arrest at Paris airport over the alleged offenses related to the messaging app. When this phase of detention ends, the judge can decide to free him or press charges and remand in further custody. French investigators had issued a warrant for his arrest as part of an inquiry into allegations of fraud, drug trafficking, organized crime, and promotion of terrorism or cyberbullying. He holds French citizenship alongside Emirati, St. Kitts and Nevis, and Russian, the country of his birth. He was arrested as he stepped off his private jet after returning from the capital of Baku. On Sunday evening, Telegram issued a statement. Telegram abides by EU laws, including Digital Services Act. Its moderation is within industry standards and constantly improving. Telegram CEO has nothing to hide and travels frequently in Europe. It is absurd to claim that the platform or its owner are responsible for the abuse of that platform. So again, we have that Section 230 in United States would apply here. They couldn't they couldn't arrest Elon Musk for things on the platform unless they have overwhelming evidence that he knows something absolutely illegal is going on and not stopping it. But I got news for you. Spouting right-leaning opinions is not a crime. In the United States, it is not a crime. So everyone's saying that he's engaging in hate speech. No, he's not. Elon Musk is not engaging in hate speech. Now, and he cleaned up the CSAM really fast. And if you see actual people doing actual hatred and actually calling for violence, which is a crime in the United States, I believe he would probably deal with that. Okay, it's not this wild, wild west of free speech where you can jump on and start saying all sorts of blasphemy that you want. There is actually still moderation on these things. And allegedly, Telegram has similar ones, but the French authorities said as part of investigation, the Paris prosecutor said the investigation concerned for crimes related to illicit transactions, CSAM, fraud, and refusal to communicate information to authorities. On the face of it, the arrest seems like a sharp break. This is just going into, they've mostly been barking, now they're finally biting. But they did mention when the platform operators do get arrested is cases of Ross Ulbricht from Silk Road, and Kim.com from Mega Upload. It tends to be because authorities can argue the platform wouldn't even exist if it were not for the crime. So Telegram has long operated as a low moderation service, and part of its roots as a chat app rather than a social media service, a social network service, and in part of Durov's own experience dealing with Russian censors. So over-censorship led to this. Keep that in mind, folks. Over-censorship has led to this. In any part, many have alleged because it's simply cheaper to have few moderators and less hands-on control. But even if a soft-touch moderation team might open a company up to fines under laws like UK's Online Safety Act and EU's Digital Services Act, it's rare for it to lead to personal charges and rarer still for those charges to result in an executive being remanded into custody. Now, this is where it gets interesting because Telegram does not have encryption. Telegram is not encrypted. WhatsApp and Signal uses an end-to-end encryption key that even the companies can't access. Yes, even Facebook allegedly cannot access it. Now, there's some talk maybe they have a secret backdoor into there. Apple's iMessage is also built not on the same standard. WhatsApp and Signal are used on the same exact standard. iMessage is built under a similar standard, but it's just not the same standard. They can prevent anybody other than the intended recipient, including the company, from seeing the messages going on. This is why you would have to access a phone with a warrant in order to decrypt a Signal, a WhatsApp, or an iMessage in order to run as part of an investigation. But Telegram is not that way. Telegram is not encrypted. All right. So the companies that run the platform of these also cannot. So when the law enforcement comes to Signal and says, we want information on these users, Signal says, can't help you. Don't have the data. We might be able to issue a little bit of metadata here and there, but we don't have the data. You need to get a warrant for the device and seize the device. That's what you got to do. And so cause no end of friction because some of the largest tech companies and the governments to regulate them, for the time being, tech companies appear to have won the main fight. In other words, they're not going to force the breaking of encryption because all these companies said they're pulling out of any area that seeks to break their encryption. But no one is seriously demanding end-to-end encryption will be outlawed anymore, with regulators and critics calling for approach such as client-side scanning to try and message police any other way. This is frightening in itself. Again, we have some videos talking about that. Telegram is different. The service does not offer end-to-end encryption through a little used opt-in feature called secret chats. By default, conversations are encrypted only as far as they can't be read by a random person connected to your network. To Telegram itself, any message outside of a secret chat can be viewed by the platform. That's the difference. Signal, WhatsApp, iMessage, zero knowledge. Telegram is not zero knowledge. They are only encrypted as far as encrypting the data from here to here across the network. They are not encrypted on the platform. They are not encrypted other places. I believe not even on your device. Any messages sent outside a secret chat, which includes every group chat and every message and comment on one of the service's broadcast channels, is effectively in the clear. That product decision marks Telegram out distinct from its peers, but oddly, they imply it's all encrypted. So cryptography expert Matthew Green says Signal CEO has continued to aggressively market Telegram as a secure messenger. Most recently, he issued a scathing criticism of Signal and WhatsApp on his personal Telegram channel, implying that those systems were backdoored by the U.S. government, and only Telegram's is independent of encryption protocols that were really trustworthy. It no longer feels amusing to see Telegram organization urge people away from default encrypted messengers while refusing to implement essential features that would widely encrypt their own users' messages. In fact, it's starting to feel a bit malicious. Here's the problem. And this block of the article mentions that. The problem is Signal, WhatsApp, and iMessage can't hand over the data because they have zero knowledge end-to-end encryption. Telegram does not have zero knowledge end-to-end encryption. They have the data. So when the police come asking for it, it puts them in a difficult position. If Telegram hands over data, it down here, it pisses off the user base. Every time it says no, it irritates the law enforcement because Telegram actually has the data. It's just not handing it over. Which means Telegram has put itself in a position where they can actually help with all of these potential crimes. They're just choosing not to. So is this really about the organized crime, the CSAM distribution, or is it about not silencing free speech and not engaging in worldwide censorship? If you ask my general opinion, probably the globalist reason that really wants censorship, and I believe there's elements of that, they want to take it down for that, but they can't. So let's go ahead and use the fact that they have information on potential crimes, but they're not handing it over as the means to try and take the system down. Is this going to be effective? It could be. I'll remind you of Omegle. Or is this pronounced Omegle? I have no idea. I've heard it pronounced both ways. Omegle shut down. Of course, this was a random stranger video chat. You would log in with a profile including things you like, and you'd be randomly connected to somebody with things you like. The problem is it apparently was overwhelmingly used by predators seeking to create CSAM or something to that general effect. And after a couple of lawsuits that came down, one of the settlements was apparently to close down the application. Why? On the basis of the CSAM. So if Telegram does have a CSAM problem that has not been dealt with, and they have access to all of the information because their servers are not end-to-end encrypted and they don't have a moderation team to find it, I have no doubt if they found such content, they would take it down. But the fact that they're not moderating as much possibly means that this is the legitimate reason why they arrested him. While they might want to stop it for the free speech, it's a really hard win to go in against the free speech angle, so you gotta protect the children. This is a case we saw in, I think it was in Baltimore. We commented on it on our news a few years ago. I don't know what the final result of the case is, but the police had arrested a man that they had alleged had CSAM. And they found an encrypted hard drive, and he says, no, that's just backup files. They say, decrypt it. He says, do you have a warrant? We don't have enough information for a warrant. I'm not decrypting my drive. So he was never charged with a crime. They didn't have enough information to get a warrant, and they wouldn't have enough information for a warrant to arrest him without seeing alleged material that may or may not have been on the drive. So what did the courts do to the man? They threw him in jail for, I think it was at least up to 3 years, for contempt of court for failing to unlock a drive, which they had no evidence to get a warrant to unlock the drive. Because if somebody is a potential pedo, you can lock them up and nobody cares. I think that that's probably the situation with Telegram, that they don't have a content moderation team big enough to remove the bad stuff, the CSAM on their platform, that they have access to because they are not end-to-end encrypted with zero knowledge. They haven't found the stuff, and so this gives the law enforcement a way to take down the company because he's not being complicit in their requests for other things. I think that that's what's going on. That is my theory, and I'm going to go ahead and stick to it. I would love to hear everybody else's theories down below. So please let us know what you guys think about this story, and what do you think is going on? Am I right? Am I wrong? I don't know. Right now, this is just a weird case, and I would really love to know what you guys think. So let me know those in the comments down below.